Those are the two things that we need to do with our military. It needs to look like the guy in the playground who you would not muck about with. And if you were to muck with him, he will beat you senseless. That's it. Now, whether or not we should be using that all the time or how we use it, that's a separate question. But the entity itself needs to comport itself in this way. Otherwise, you are endangering this truly special experiment, which at least in its beginnings valued the individual. It valued individual rights and states' rights, and the founders. And this was another thing I said in that briefing was the founders knew, yes, they were all slaveholders, but they knew that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence would eventually lead to a system where we had to acknowledge these people as people, and we fought a civil war where 1 million white dudes died to see this experiment through. The scaffolding was there. You have to look at the things, the zeitgeist of the time. If they had just said, nope, everyone's going to be free, there will be no slaves, you would have never gotten ratification through the southern states. But they knew that and when you read the Federalist Papers, they knew that they were erecting this system. And when you look at Thomas Jefferson and some of these other great thinkers who, yes, he owned slaves, I get it. They knew what they were building, and they knew that what would it ultimately terminate in. And then we had a civil war where we destroyed our country from the inside to see this dream come about. And now we're just going to all go back and say they're all slave owners. Like, I know this has all been said here a million times, but this stuff animates me because it's built with blood and treasure.
Well, it's also, you can't judge people from the past based on the standards of the present.
For sure.
Because culture changes, people understand things better. We have a much greater recognition of what was wrong with things 100 years ago, 200 years ago. And I'm sure in the future, we're going to look back on today with the same lens. It just always works that way.
Did you know Joe had a gas-powered car?
Exactly. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Did you know that?
You consumed more, you flew more,
Yeah.
you ate more meat, you did whatever you did. You were a problem.
He was a problem.
Yeah.
And now why would we ever, like, I'm voting to get rid of the Joe Rogan Experience from the National Archives because he drove a gas car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like someone, stores your stuff for profundity's sake, for the future, to hear about this. I've always loved your podcast, Joe, and it was because you're a genuinely curious person, and I'm not kissing your ass right now. You're a genuinely curious person that was saying things that were not in the current zeitgeist at the time, and you refused to apologize for it. And it led to a lot of great things, but it led to an updating of the system. And you did it with dialogue, with the dialogos, with, two people trying to learn things about each other. And it led to an updating of a system. I think it's very important for culture to have free and open dialogue so we can update our system. So bad ideas can die so we don't have to die instead of our bad ideas.
Yeah.
Because if I can't express a bad idea, I have to act it out. And if I act out the bad idea, it could kill me.
And the celebration of good ideas.
And the celebration of good ideas.
Yeah.
And it's just really, there's just been such a weird inversion in politics where the free, hippie-loving liberals of yesteryear are now the ones telling you what words you can use. There are no borders, all of these crazy things. And I always say to people, I said it to Andy, on my last podcast with him, I'm like a 1996 Bill Clinton Democrat. If you go watch his State of the Union, and he talks about lowering debt, getting out of debt, actually, working with Newt Gingrich to get out of debt, securing the borders, making work and education freely accessible. I'm voting for that guy.
I know, isn't it crazy? That's why the problem of labels doesn't work, ideological labels. Because if you go back far enough and look at Clinton, for example, he's one of the best ones. And by the way, did balance the budget.
Yeah, he did.
He actually
We
did
had a surplus when he left office.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Did a fucking amazing job. So he got his dick sucked. Well,
yeah.
Who didn't? Back then, that's the other thing. Judging people by the standards of the past, JFK doesn't look so good in the Me Too movement,
Right, exactly.
He would have got canceled.
Yeah.
It's like you have to recognize that this ideological bubble that we find ourselves in, left versus right, Bill Clinton does not fit in that. Bill Clinton is securely on the right in terms of 1996 standards apply to today.
He would never want to hear that.
No, he would never want to hear that because he's kind of shifted with the zeitgeist, because that's what you kind of have to do if you want to stay in your party and be protected by your party.
Yes.
But he's essentially, he had a lot of the, we've talked about this before. We've played clips of Hillary Clinton from 2008, and she's more MAGA than MAGA.
I know.